Silence is the reset button you've been avoiding. Most women don't realize how loud their lives have become. There's constant noise, emails, messages, responsibilities, opinions, expectations, all pulling at your energy like invisible hands. And somewhere in all that noise, you've stopped hearing yourself. You've stopped feeling what you really need, what you truly want, and what's genuinely meant for you. Silence isn't just absence of sound, it's presence. Presence of clarity, presence of peace, presence of self. It's the reset button you've been avoiding, and until you press it, nothing else aligns. Silence is powerful because it gives your mind a chance to untangle. Every time you react without pause, you're caught in someone else's story, a story that wasn't written for you. You answer texts immediately even when you're exhausted. You respond to criticism when you're hurt. You try to fix relationships that don't respect your limits. And in the process, you exhaust yourself, lose focus, and sacrifice your peace. But silence changes that. It allows you to pause, observe, and process without interference. It gives you the space to choose your response rather than simply react out of habit. Think about the last time you stayed quiet when something upset you. You may have felt uncomfortable at first. Your mind raced. You worried they'd misunderstand you. You feared that silence meant weakness. But in reality, silence is never weakness. It's strength in its purest form. It's saying to the world, I am in control of my energy. I am choosing my peace over immediate validation. When you resist the urge to justify yourself or to explain your feelings to everyone around you, you create space for clarity. You allow yourself to see the bigger picture, to recognize patterns, and to understand your true priorities. The world trains you to believe that being heard equals being important, that speaking first guarantees influence, and that reacting quickly proves care. But here's the paradox: when you speak less and focus more, your presence becomes heavier. Your words, when they come, carry weight. People notice when you're no longer constantly reacting. They notice when you stop trying to explain every decision, when you stop chasing approval, and when you stop justifying your life choices. Silence isn't absence, it's power. It signals that your energy is valuable, and you will not lend it indiscriminately. Silence also reconnects you with your intuition. When the world is quiet, your inner voice becomes loud. That quiet voice that has been drowned out by constant inputs finally has room to guide you. It reminds you what truly matters. It teaches you which relationships are worth your energy and which are not. It points you to opportunities that align with your values rather than distractions that drain you. When you stay silent long enough to hear it, you begin making decisions that feel natural, effortless, and aligned. Decisions that no amount of external advice could have prepared you for. Another reason silence works like a reset button is that it stops the cycle of emotional overextension. Many women pour themselves into everyone else's problems, responding immediately, over-explaining, over-caring, until they feel empty. Silence interrupts this cycle. It teaches you that you don't need to solve every issue, approve every opinion, or validate every emotion around you. You start conserving your energy, saving it for the things that matter most: your goals, your growth, your peace. And when you conserve your energy, the things you do engage in become sharper, more intentional, and more impactful. Finally, silence is a signal, not just to yourself, but to the world. It says, I am no longer available for chaos, for manipulation, or for endless drama. It's a boundary in its purest form. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't value your time. You stop reacting to triggers that aren't yours to carry. You stop sacrificing your emotional equilibrium for the comfort of others. And in that silence, something remarkable happens. Clarity emerges, alignment follows, and slowly, effortlessly, everything begins to fall into place. When you learn to embrace silence, you stop chasing outcomes. You stop forcing answers. You stop bending over backward for validation. Instead, you step back, focus inward, and let life respond to the calm, confident energy you now carry. The reset button you've been avoiding isn't about isolation or indifference. It's about reclaiming your power, reclaiming your clarity, and giving yourself the space to rise naturally into alignment with everything that's meant for you. Stop explaining your piece to people who thrive on drama. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that not everyone deserves an explanation. Not every question needs an answer. Not every opinion of yours needs validation. You've spent years justifying your choices, over-explaining your actions, and walking a tightrope between peace and approval. You thought that by clarifying yourself, people would understand, respect, or even love you more. But the truth is, some people thrive on chaos. They feed on confusion, on drama, on the energy you give when you try to justify your peace. And the more you explain, the more they take. When you constantly defend your calm, you teach others that your peace is negotiable. You open the door to arguments that don't belong to you. You allow others to question your decisions, judge your priorities, and disturb your equilibrium. People who thrive on drama want one thing: they want your energy. They want you reacting emotionally, reacting defensively, because your reaction validates their control. Silence, focus, and personal boundaries threaten that control. And that's why staying quiet, staying centered, and stopping the explanations is revolutionary. Think about how many times you've explained why you don't attend a party, why you aren't available, why you won't take on someone else's problem. How many times have you justified your decisions in an effort to avoid confrontation, avoid being misunderstood, or simply to keep the peace? And yet, after all the explanations, the misunderstanding remained, the judgment didn't stop, the drama persisted. You realized too late that nothing you said could change their desire for chaos. Because some people are addicted to conflict, not clarity, and the more you try to explain yourself, the more you give them to fuel that addiction. Your peace is yours. It's a sacred resource. And giving constant explanations for how you maintain it is like pouring water from a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you give, the energy drains away, leaving you exhausted and unfulfilled. The world doesn't need your justifications, it needs your presence in balance. When you stop explaining your calm, you stop opening yourself to unnecessary conflict. You reclaim the energy that was being siphoned by those who profit from your overexposure. There's power in not defending yourself. People who respect you will respect your boundaries without a full explanation. They will understand that your choices are yours to make, and they will adjust accordingly. And the people who don't respect it, their opinions no longer hold weight. Their drama no longer infects your peace. You create a filter, one that only allows alignment, respect, and positive energy in and keeps unnecessary chaos out. Silence also gives you clarity. When you're not constantly defending your decisions, you're not distracted by arguments or judgments. You can observe situations more objectively, understand the motivations of others, and respond with intentionality instead of reflexive emotion. You learn that sometimes saying nothing is the loudest and most effective response. Your calm becomes your power, and your energy is no longer dictated by the chaos around you. Every time you stop explaining your piece, you take a stand for yourself, you send a message that your time, your energy, and your emotional health are not up for debate. You stop allowing people who thrive on drama to manipulate your focus or distract your growth. You step into a space of authority over your own life, a space where you are in control, where your choices are honored, and where your peace is untouchable. By refusing to justify your calm, you also stop chasing validation. You realize that you don't need approval to maintain your boundaries or protect your emotional space. You learn to trust yourself, your instincts, and your understanding of what serves your well-being. And that trust becomes the foundation for everything else in your life, relationships, career, personal growth. When you stop explaining your piece, you start living from a place of power, clarity, and alignment with what truly matters to you. The moment you fully embrace this principle, you stop performing for the comfort of others. You stop bending, adjusting, or sacrificing your peace to avoid conflict. You stop feeding chaos with your energy. Instead, you stay silent, stay focused, and let your calm energy speak for itself. And when you do this consistently, the drama that once controlled your life begins to dissolve, your clarity deepens, and your life starts to realign naturally with the path you were always meant to walk. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's self-respect. Too many women have been taught that putting themselves first is selfish, that taking time for themselves is indulgent, that prioritizing their own growth somehow takes away from the people around them. But here's the reality: self-focus is not selfishness, it's self-respect. It's the understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup, that your energy, your clarity, and your peace are finite resources, and that protecting them is not optional if you want a life that aligns with your purpose. When you constantly put everyone else's needs above your own, you start to lose yourself in the process. You bend to accommodate expectations, constantly explain your choices, and adjust your life for people who may not even appreciate it. Over time, this creates fatigue, resentment, and a sense of emptiness that can't be filled by anyone else. The more you focus outward, the less you know about yourself. And the less you know about yourself, the less power you have to create the life you actually want. Focusing on yourself begins with small acts of intentionality. It's waking up and asking, "What do I need today?" instead of immediately responding to everyone else's demands. It's learning to say no to things that drain your energy, no matter how polite, expected, or habitual they feel. It's deciding that your mental and emotional health is a priority, and then acting on that decision consistently. When you do this, you stop being reactive to everyone else's drama and start being proactive about your own growth. One of the hardest parts of focusing on yourself is overcoming guilt. Guilt tells you that by prioritizing yourself, you are being unfair to others. But the truth is, self-respect is not a zero-sum game. By honoring yourself, you actually create healthier, more balanced relationships. People can interact with you fully, knowing that your energy is available when you choose to give it. You no longer give out of obligation, fear, or the need for approval. You give from strength, from clarity, and from alignment. That's the difference between exhaustion and empowerment. When you focus on yourself, you also start to understand your boundaries more deeply. You notice what drains you, what inspires you, and what aligns with your values. You stop wasting energy on relationships, situations, or people that are not meant to be part of your growth journey. You begin to act with intention rather than reaction. You start creating space in your life for experiences, connections, and opportunities that uplift you rather than deplete you. That is the essence of self-respect. Self-focus is also about clarity in decision-making. When you understand yourself, your priorities and your needs, the choices you make become easier and more aligned. You no longer feel pressure to please everyone or to seek external validation. You act from a place of authority over your own life, not from obligation, fear, or habit. That kind of clarity transforms not only your actions, but also the way others respond to you. People begin to respect your decisions because you respect yourself enough to make them without compromise. It's important to realize that focusing on yourself does not mean cutting others out of your life. It doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means interacting from a place of strength and intentionality. It means giving when you choose to, not when you feel forced to. It means nurturing your growth so that your presence in the lives of others is more meaningful, more aligned, and more genuine. You become someone who adds value not out of obligation, but out of conscious choice. The transformation that comes from focusing on yourself is subtle at first, but profound over time. You notice that your stress levels decrease, your intuition sharpens, and your energy stabilizes. You become less reactive to external chaos because you're anchored internally. You find yourself more confident in your decisions, more grounded in your actions, and more in tune with your purpose. The more you focus on yourself, the more naturally aligned your life becomes with what truly matters. Focusing on yourself is not a privilege, it's a necessity. It's the foundation of peace, clarity, and growth. It's the moment you stop sacrificing your well-being for the sake of expectation and start investing in your potential. It's the understanding that the best version of yourself exists not when you're constantly giving out of scarcity, but when you're giving from a place of abundance. And that abundance starts with you fully claiming your right to focus, grow, and thrive without apology. Silence makes you unpredictable and powerful. There's a kind of power in quiet that most people never understand. The world tells women to explain, justify, and constantly share their thoughts and feelings as if transparency equals influence. But the truth is, silence is one of the strongest tools you have, and when used intentionally, it makes you unpredictable and commanding in ways words never could. Silence doesn't mean you're weak or disinterested. It means you are in control. You're choosing your moments, conserving your energy, and protecting your peace, and that unpredictability. It's magnetic. It forces people to pay attention, not because you demand it, but because your presence alone carries weight. When you stop reacting to everything, the energy around you shifts. People who are used to immediate responses, explanations, and constant engagement are suddenly faced with a boundary they cannot predict. They can't manipulate your energy as easily. They can't anticipate your reactions. You stop being a page in their story and start becoming a chapter that they must respect. Silence is a form of power because it removes the expectation that you are always available to fix, explain, or soothe. It communicates control without aggression and influence without force. Think about it. When someone stops over-explaining, their value increases. When you stop justifying your choices, your actions gain weight. When you stop reacting to every drama or crisis, your calm becomes noticeable, and your energy becomes something others instinctively respect. Silence isn't passive, it's active restraint. It's the decision to conserve your energy for what truly matters instead of scattering it in unnecessary conflict, manipulation, or expectation. The quieter you become, the more people feel your presence and power. Silence also enhances observation. When you're not speaking constantly, you start noticing the details that others miss. You see motivations, patterns, and intentions more clearly. You begin to understand who is aligned with your energy and who is draining it. You no longer need to argue or explain yourself because you already understand where people stand and what actions are appropriate. Your quiet presence becomes a filter that naturally attracts alignment and repels chaos. Another element of power in silence is emotional control. People who thrive on drama often feed off reactions. The louder someone is, the more fuel they have to manipulate the situation. But when you stop reacting, you take away their leverage. You're calm, you're quiet, your measured responses disrupt the usual dynamics and force people to recalibrate. You become someone who is not easily provoked, someone whose energy cannot be stolen or dictated by the chaos around them. That's not just strength, it's freedom. Silence is also mysterious, and mystery commands respect. When you stop constantly explaining your choices, sharing every thought, or justifying your actions, you create space. People notice the gaps, the pauses, the intentionality behind your calm. They may feel uncertain because they are used to having access to every part of you, and in that uncertainty, your value rises. Your presence becomes something people pause to consider rather than something they take for granted. Unpredictability doesn't mean being dishonest, it means being deliberate. It means choosing when to reveal, when to act, and when to let the energy speak for itself. This power isn't limited to personal relationships, it extends to every area of your life. In the workplace, silence can make your ideas stand out more clearly. In friendships, it forces respect for your boundaries. In family dynamics, it shows maturity and emotional intelligence. Silence, when paired with focus, clarity, and self-respect, communicates far more than words ever could. It says, I know my worth. I know my priorities. I will not be pulled off course for the convenience or comfort of others. The most significant effect of silence is internal alignment. By speaking less and focusing on yourself, you stop feeding the noise that distracts from your path. Your mind, your emotions, and your energy find equilibrium. You begin to act from purpose rather than reaction, from clarity rather than chaos. Every decision becomes intentional, every response becomes measured, and every interaction becomes a reflection of the power that lives within you. Silence is not absence, it's presence in its most potent form. It is the quiet force that makes your energy undeniable, your influence unavoidable, and your peace untouchable. The more you embrace it, the more unpredictable and powerful you become, and the more naturally your life begins to align with the energy you cultivate. The world shifts. When you move differently, there's an unseen energy in the way you carry yourself, and it's more powerful than most people realize. When you decide to focus on yourself, to stay silent, and to move intentionally, the world begins to respond differently. It's subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but over time, it becomes undeniable. Your energy changes, your presence changes, and suddenly situations that once frustrated you start aligning with ease. The world doesn't resist the calm, purposeful energy of someone who knows their worth. It shifts around it. Most women spend their lives reacting to the expectations and opinions of others. You respond to invitations, to requests, to drama, and to chaos because that's what has been normalized. You adjust yourself to fit what others want, hoping for validation, approval, or simply to avoid conflict. But when you stop moving according to what the world expects and start moving according to your own purpose, the dynamic changes. People notice, circumstances respond, and opportunities begin to appear that weren't visible before because your energy was previously scattered. Moving differently starts with small choices. It's saying no without guilt, prioritizing your mental and emotional space, and refusing to over-explain or justify your actions. It's choosing your battles intentionally and letting go of the ones that don't serve your growth. Every choice is a signal that you are no longer available for chaos, manipulation, or the emotional exhaustion of others. The world can sense that shift even if you haven't spoken a word. Your energy alone communicates boundaries, confidence, and self-respect, and that changes how people interact with you. When you move differently, people start to treat you differently. They can feel the space you are claiming for yourself. They sense that your attention is no longer freely given, and they begin to value it more. Your presence becomes intentional, and because it is intentional, it begins to carry weight. The same people who once took advantage of your availability now pause before demanding your energy. Your silence and focus make you unpredictable, and unpredictability commands respect. People start to realize that you are no longer moving according to their expectations. You are moving according to your own standards, and that is both compelling and powerful. This shift also changes how you perceive the world. When you focus inward and move differently, the noise that once distracted you diminishes. The opinions, judgments, and chaos that used to pull at your attention lose their power over you. You become more selective about where your energy goes, who you interact with, and what situations you allow yourself to be part of. This selective engagement is not selfishness, it's discernment. It's understanding that your energy is a resource, and you are no longer giving it away carelessly. The world shifts even more dramatically when you begin to act from alignment rather than reaction. When you stop chasing approval, defending yourself unnecessarily, and reacting to emotional triggers, the outcomes in your life start to change. Opportunities appear naturally. Relationships improve or dissolve based on mutual respect rather than desperation. Your work, your creativity, and your personal growth begin to expand because you are no longer constantly pulled off course by external demands. You start attracting people and situations that resonate with your calm, focused energy. Moving differently also amplifies your inner strength. Each time you resist the urge to justify, over-explain, or react emotionally, you reinforce your control over your own life. You demonstrate to yourself that you can navigate the world without being dictated by drama, opinion, or expectation. And as your internal confidence grows, the external world begins to match it. Circumstances that once felt chaotic start to make sense. People who were misaligned naturally fall away, and those who belong begin to step forward. When you embrace this principle consistently, you notice that life begins to flow with more ease. The stress, tension, and friction that once dominated your experience decrease because your energy is now intentional. Your choices are no longer influenced by others' chaos. Your actions are measured, deliberate, and aligned with your purpose. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect, but it does mean that the way the world interacts with you changes because you are moving from a place of power, clarity, and self-respect rather than reaction, chaos, and approval seeking. The world responds to energy more than it responds to words. When you move differently, when your actions reflect focus, silence, and self-respect, your life begins to shift naturally. Doors open, people respect boundaries, and situations align in ways that were previously impossible. This is the essence of influence without effort, moving in your life according to your own rhythm and letting the world adjust to the presence you now embody. Peace speaks louder than words ever will. There's a quiet power in peace that most people never notice until it hits them. It's subtle, but it's undeniable. It's not loud, flashy, or dramatic, and that's exactly why it works. When a woman learns to prioritize her own focus and stay silent, she begins to radiate a presence that commands respect without having to argue for it. Peace speaks louder than words ever will because it's consistent, intentional, and rooted in self-respect. People feel it before they even hear it. They sense the calm in your energy, and suddenly, your life begins to attract alignment in ways nothing else can achieve. Peace becomes your most powerful communication. It doesn't need to be justified, explained, or defended. In fact, the more you try to explain your calm, the more diluted it becomes. By staying centered and silent, you let your energy do the talking. You stop reacting to drama, arguments, and unnecessary noise. You stop trying to convince others of your worth. And in that space, people can no longer manipulate your energy. Your presence becomes undeniable, not because you are forceful, but because you are grounded. The world is chaotic, and most people respond to noise, urgency, and drama. But when you step outside of that pattern, you become different. You become someone whose decisions, actions, and presence are driven by clarity instead of reaction. When everyone else is busy reacting emotionally, your calm becomes magnetic. People notice that your energy is unshakable. They notice that you are no longer easily swayed by others' expectations or chaos. And that attention, that respect, and that alignment cannot be bought or demanded. It's earned simply by being at peace. Peace also creates space for growth. When you are not constantly reacting, over-explaining, or seeking approval, your mind and heart have the room they need to focus on what truly matters. You notice opportunities that were previously invisible. You recognize relationships that add value versus those that drain you. You begin to act with intention rather than compulsion. The decisions you make from a place of peace are clearer, wiser, and more aligned with your goals. That is why peace is not passive, it is active influence. Another powerful aspect of peace is its ability to filter your environment. When you are grounded in calm, those who thrive on drama, negativity, or manipulation naturally fall away. You no longer give them energy to pull you into chaos. You stop trying to fix situations that aren't yours to solve. You stop chasing people who do not respect your boundaries. Your peace acts as a filter, allowing only alignment, growth, and respect to enter your life. And the more consistently you maintain that peace, the stronger the filter becomes, and the clearer your life path becomes. Peace also communicates confidence. When you are silent, focused, and centered, people perceive you differently. They sense that you are in control, that you understand your worth, and that you will not compromise your energy for validation or approval. You no longer need to explain your choices or justify your boundaries. Your energy speaks for itself. And this kind of confidence is magnetic. It attracts respect, alignment, and opportunity while simultaneously repelling chaos, drama, and unnecessary conflict. When you focus on yourself and maintain your silence, peace begins to shape your life in ways that words cannot. Relationships begin to align naturally, opportunities present themselves effortlessly, and challenges are approached from clarity instead of reaction. People begin to treat you differently, not because you demand it, but because your energy communicates something they cannot ignore. Peace becomes your language, your influence, and your power. And perhaps the most transformative effect of maintaining peace is internal. When you stop trying to control outcomes, explain your decisions, or react to external chaos, your mind and heart find balance. Stress diminishes, clarity rises, confidence strengthens. You begin to operate from a place of intentionality rather than compulsion. And when that internal peace radiates outward, it reshapes the world around you, naturally aligning your life with what is meant for you. Peace is quiet, but it is never passive. It's deliberate. It's a force that communicates strength without aggression, influence without drama, and power without force. When a woman embraces silence, focus, and self-respect, her peace becomes the loudest, most effective statement she will ever make, creating alignment and transformation that words alone could never achieve. When women focus on yourself and stay silent, everything falls into place. To everything we've discussed today points to one undeniable truth: your power lies in your focus, your silence, and your self-respect. In a world that constantly demands your energy, your explanations, and your attention, the most revolutionary act you can take is to turn inward. When you stop over-explaining, stop reacting to drama, and stop seeking validation, you reclaim control over your life. You begin to move with intention, and in that intentional movement, the world naturally aligns with your energy. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's essential. Staying silent is not weakness, it's strength. Protecting your peace is not arrogance, it's maturity. Every boundary you set, every moment of stillness you embrace, and every choice to prioritize your growth sends a message. First to yourself, and then to the world, that your life is yours to live, and your energy is yours to protect. When you combine silence with focus, clarity emerges. Opportunities appear that were invisible in the chaos. Relationships shift to align with your values. People begin to respect your presence because you no longer chase approval or react impulsively. Life in its natural rhythm begins to flow in alignment with your intentions. The message is simple yet profound. Stop bending to the noise around you. Stop seeking validation and stop justifying your choices. Instead, invest in yourself, honor your peace, and let your energy speak louder than words ever could. When you do this consistently, everything falls into place, not because you force it, but because you have created the space, focus, and clarity for alignment to happen naturally. Your silence, focus, and self-respect are the most powerful tools you have. Use them wisely and watch your life transform.